Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Hey, it's Becky from Power Tools with Thread. You are in our Stitchuation room. This is a Monday through Friday virtual stitching retreat where you follow me along on my sewing journey, and I hope I can inspire you to put something under the needle. Good morning to everybody here in the chat. I see the gang's all here. Yay! Frito's here. It's treat time for Miss Frida. Let's see here. There we go. Hi, baby girl. Hello. You ready for your biscuit? That's a good girl, your Dave biscuit. Oh, good girl. Y'all, it's cold here. Had the heater kicked on last night. Yeah. The heater kicked on, didn't it? Yes, it did. Oh, good girl. There you go. Frito burrito. Frito the bandito. There she is. Good girl. Yeah. Out of nowhere last night, she just started barking. We were like, what is she barking at? She didn't know what she was barking at. Awesome. Awesome. Hope you guys are doing well. I got some work done yesterday on my panel quilt for the steampunk birds. And I got on that orange inner border and the pins on the outer border, middle border. And then I laid it on top of a quilt that I've got on my long arm right now and saturated it down again and squared it up again and blocked it using larger rulers. So when I'm blocking, it's not just a one and done kind of thing. It's a continual. The narrow board, let me get it so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Whoa, pinned on. It's pinned on. Hold on a second here. Okay. So the narrow orange border in here really wouldn't do a whole lot to block again. Look how straight that's looking on that corner. That one was a real mess. So the orange border it wouldn't matter if I'd have tried it again. But the outer one with the pins, that one has a whole lot of fabric to it. So I went ahead and squared that up again using a big 10-inch ruler and saturated it down on top of a quilt that's on the long arm and let it dry and did the others because I did half and half. And it's looking really, really square, rectangular. It's no longer wonky. So this one was so bad. It wasn't just a block it once, call it good and go. It needed several days because you've got to let all that dry. But I think once the next border goes on, I kind of was thinking I wish maybe I would have used a black stripe in between these two, just like here. But then you'd get a weird framing thing going on here, I think. I don't know. So it's fine. It's fine. It'll be fine. I had to wear my long sleeves today. It's 68 in this room. That's cold, y'all. That's cold. So where'd the panel come from? You missed it. Gifts. This is, I got it at my local quilt shop, Fiberworks Fabric Studio in McQueenie, Texas. I have a link to it below, I believe. I have the link below in yesterday's video. Yeah, and it'll be in tomorrow's too. Today's video description box is all about embroidery. So because it's Embroidery Thursday, yay! So we're going to do another block on the Kimberbell's A Quilty Little Christmas. Anybody in here doing that too? Well, Sally, I'm glad your cat's got you up so that you can join us live. Why not, Tater Tot? So my progress to this point is the embroidery portion. Blocks like this will get trimmed and then have additional fabric added to the sides of them. And so that one's done. And then we have the large stamp, and this is for the first, have yourself a quilty little Christmas. These blocks form murals a gallery wall, if you will. You can do that. My intention is to put them all together into one. This one needs a postage stamp, but I have, this is a little letter to Santa, but I have the button that goes up there. So I didn't stitch the postage stamp on that. And oh, good. Vicki, you ordered that fabric. You're going to love it. It's so cute. So cute. And then here's another little stamp. Didn't these come out adorable? Now I am backing every piece of background fabric with SF101, not applique, just the background fabric. And then if the applique is white, I also did it on that. So you didn't see the dark through there. Didn't have to, but I did. Okay, so I'm moving right along on this. Got quite a bit done. A couple more. Oh, there's the last one. So those two together make one design. So, hi, Carrie. Thanks for showing up. Glad you are here. Okay. So this is progress so far. And today we're going to work on, if I can get up close for you guys. Here's a good picture of it. It's a little mailbox, the letter box. Isn't that cute? So we can put our little letters to Santa in the letterbox. And so there's the pattern with the CD, comes in a big 80-page book, huge book. And then the kit has all of the fabrics that you need in it. And the embellishment kit is an additional purchase. Okay. So I'm going to get into those little buttons today. Those are letters. The little pink rectangles, those are letters. Super cute. So I'm going to put that inside of the mailbox today. I've got my fabrics already cut out. My background fabric is already backed with SF101. My threads are ready to go right here, and my little fabrics are ready. So I've got my stuff together this morning, y'all. Woohoo! Yeehaw! All right. Let's see here. You rearranged your room. Good, Wanda. Sometimes that's what we need. It's just a little rearrangement to make things flow a little better, right? You're still trying to figure out the hot cocoa for Snapplique. Yeah, that was last week. So just slip those letters into a scanning mat. And if you don't have a scanning mat, put them on the low tack mat if you have the pre-cuts. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. That turned out cute. If you only are here, let me get it. If you're only here on Embroidery Thursdays and you want to see the final result. Okay. I didn't think about that. That's going to fall. I knew it. That's okay. There's last Thursday's Embroidery Thursday. Oh, wrong way. There we go. That turned out super cute, didn't it? I love it. Just adorable. And I lost the little fringe ball that they gave me for the marshmallows. So I cut some fleece, little circles out of fleece. It turned out adorable. Worked out just fine. So I'm really, really happy with that. And I have a hanging triangle on the back. And if you're an embroiderer, you don't come here during the quilting portion of the videos. You take a square of fabric, however wide you want it across. You determine that length. If it's a quilt, it might be several squares. And you fold that square diagonally in half to make a large triangle, and then fold that triangle one more time into half again, a smaller triangle, and you stitch the raw edges up inside the binding like that. And then all you have to do is one little point, 3 or 4 stitches just to tack this down, and it works perfect. There's no set size for the triangle to do hanging things like that. You determine what you need and where you need to place them. I don't recommend, just as a rule, recommend getting them any closer than ½ an inch away from the corner so that you don't get bulky corners in the back of your seam. So I love it. It turned out just adorable, and it was a lot of fun to put together. Okay. So beginner embroiderers. Do we have any beginner embroiderers here with us? Thumbs up, y'all. Did I figure out what was wrong with my Cricut mini press? Dawn, I did not. It's giving me a red, like an error light that I've never seen with a single beep. And I've never seen that before. This is a different one. I have two. One was for the road, and I brought it in from the motorhome so that it worked in here. It'll work in here. You're new and just found me. Well, hi, Linda. Linda, bienvenue. Did I get that right? Welcome, as your last name sounds, right? As your last name is all about. Where's my welcoming committee? Linda's a brand new. Kathy's a beginner embroiderer. Great. And so is Eugenia. Good. All right. Fairly new to embroidery. So I am going to go through this process, and I'll give you some tips and tricks and thoughts and whatnot about embroidery that is not always apparent. Okay. I am stitching on the Brother Luminaire XP3. And the only difference, let me circle that around. The only difference between the XP 1, 2, and 3 are the brains. The body of the machine is the same. When they did the upgrades, it went, they just changed what it thought about, and that's it. Okay. So the things I'm going to talk to you about are concepts. And what I'm doing on my embroidery machine, you can do on yours, even if it's not a Brother machine, because all embroidery machines behave basically the same. They function the same. Instead of like on a domestic machine where it's you moving the fabric under the needle, on an embroidery machine, the machine is moving the fabric for you in a hoop. And that's the nuts and bolts of it right there. So regardless of whether you're starting off with the little bitty Brother PE 770, maybe you only have a little 4x4 machine, or you've got some ginormous like this, okay, soon to be the baby sister to the Avenir when it's released. So, and then if you have a Baby Lock Solaris, it's identical in every way to this machine, except for the designs that are internal to the machine. And the Brother Luminaire can talk to a Brother Scan and Cut through the My Connection feature. But other than that, they are identical. Okay. So I bet y'all don't know this, but I actually own real hoops. I'm always using the magnetic hoops, the dime magnetic hoops. And I hooped some medium weight tearaway stabilizer. You can tear it, okay? For this, you got the Stellaire for you. Awesome. Yeah, the Stellaire is a great machine. Okay. So on your hoops, your hoop is going to have a definitive top and bottom. You need to look at it. On mine, it's hard to see. There's a teeny tiny little arrow right up here on the inner hoop. And I'm not going to go into how to hoop today because that's its own lesson. But I hooped this tearaway. Now I drew a crosshair on here. Okay. I wanted to explain. There are little north, south, east, and west marks on most hoops. All right. Doesn't matter. Bernina, Pfaff, Husqvarna, doesn't matter. And all you have to do, it's just to give you a guideline if you need it. Okay. In the case of the design we're doing today, you don't need to know the center of the hoop because the digitizer has already determined where it's going to go in the hoop. And that's what an in the hoop project is all about. You can completely finish something in the hoop and make a whole project more so than just, I would use this crosshair if I was going to put something on a shirt, say, because I need to make sure that the center of the design is going to land in the center of the hoop. And I want to make sure that these two are working together. But you don't have to go through all that rigmarole when you are doing an in the hoop design. And the beauty of that is the digitizer's already figured out center for you. So you don't have to, that's why it's in the hoop projects are pretty easy for the most part for beginner embroiderers. Is there a pattern out there for an embroidery machine? You don't like the black one that came with your machine. Vicki, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm sure of it. Yeah, you know what? Juju has one. Juju has the Go Sew Something. Oh, no, that's a sewing machine. No, I don't know. That's my hot coffee. Wrong one. I need to be drinking out of this one. It's a little cooler. Y'all give me a thumbs up and subscribe. We can hang out together more often. It's free to you. Okay. So I'm going to just put this in here, and I already sent the design over wirelessly to my embroidery machine using the Brother Design Database Transfer. That's a handy utility too, and it's free. Okay. So I'm going to, you guys can't see because of the glare and everything. I'm just going to go to embroidery, go to the pocket for memory, and wireless, hit the little radar waves there and look for my mailbox, and it is right there. You know, it's so funny. If you send the design through Embrilliance, you have to name it. And if I was to name it mailbox and then send it with Embrilliance, it would come up here with the name mailbox in the picture and the design. If I use the Brother Design Database Transfer, even if it's named mailbox, the design itself, before I send it, it still renames it on the way over. That's crazy. Set. Okay. And we are all ready to go. So just give you some basics here on the machine. Okay. On my screen, yours will have something like this. Okay. I've got, it tells me the design is 5.36 by 5.3. I have a camera. I don't need to use that this time again because I already know center. This is a 5x7. I have an edit button. I have a preview button of the design itself, and I've got a list of all of the color stops. And I'm just going to touch, you can't see that. I'm going to touch embroidery. And so once I touch embroidery, the design is loaded. Okay, so what do we have here? What we have here is okay. It's telling me I need to use my W foot. It lists all of the hoops I can use except the one that's grayed out. That's the 4x4. I can't use that one. It says there's 8,543 stitches in this, and that's important to know where to find where your stitch count is so that if you have a boo-boo and you have to start over, you can know where to pick it up again, okay? So that's important to know that. We've got 13 color stops. It says it's going to take 15 minutes, but because it's applique, we're going to triple that. It'll probably be about 45. All right, and then down here, I have the ability to downward direct the design using the cone onto the hoop. I can go into a layout button and move or rotate. I can use my snowman to find center. I can do all that. I don't want to do that. And then I have a preview of what it's going to stitch, which is the placement. First is the placement line for the base of the mailbox. I'm going to show you guys a trick. There are my color stops. And then down here at the bottom, I have a return so I can go backwards. I can tell it not to tie off. I've got a needle plus minus. That's really important. Okay. And then I can figure out where the needle's going to hit if I wanted to do a trace, and I can it'll give me a needle down, give me a crosshair and all that. Okay. So here's the thing. If you look, it tells me this first stitch right here is the base of the machine, right? Or that mailbox. Well, I don't have any fabric on there. How do I know where to put the fabric? So what they tell you is draw a crosshair, okay? And then what you do, this is old school, you guys, is you fold your fabric in half, all right, and fold it in half again, This is old school. And then you'll put it into a quarter of the hoop and pop it over and pop it down. And you want to make sure that it's pretty straight and you're good to go. Now, the fabric covers the whole thing, so it would be fine. What I want the fabric to be tacked down so that it doesn't pull in and pucker. That's a little trick that they don't tell you about. And most machines will have what is called a basting stitch on it. And so I'm going to run the basting stitch, and I'm going to create one. My machine has one. And I'm going to create a basting stitch to tell me where to put my fabric down. And then I'm going to put my fabric down, and then I'm going to run the basting stitch again to make sure it stays in place and doesn't get pulled in by any of the satin stitching. As a rule, you want to put SF 101, which is a single-sided fusible, on the back of your background fabric. You don't need it on your applique. Back of the background fabric, so that anytime you have a heavy satin stitch, whether it's just an outline or maybe you have a dense fill, that SF 101 needs to be on the back of your background fabric to prevent puckering. That applies to quilting cottons. Okay. All right. So let's add a basting stitch to this thing. I'm going to hit return. And I need my glasses. What did I do with those? They're here. And I'm going to do let me see here. Let me go into edit. And my basting stitch, I always forget which one it is. That's applique. There's my color stops. I don't know if it's on this menu. Let me go to add. No, that wasn't it. Return. You all, I always forget where it is on this machine. I've done it before. There's mirror, copy, paste, alignment. There's applique. Let me touch that. Nope, that wasn't it. Oh, here. Is that it, the flower? No. Where's it at, you guys? Layout. Thank you. Okay. Let me go to embroidery. It's in layout. There it is, right there. The flower, it has a little... Thank you. The little flower. There it is right there, right by the snowman. That's the basting stitch right there. So I'm just going to tap that, and it put the stitch right around the outside of it. The only thing I'm not crazy about with this is I can't make that basting stitch any bigger. I wish I could, but I can't. So, meh. Let me hit return. I don't think I can. Have you guys played with that where you can select just that and make it bigger? Because sometimes I don't want it right next to the machine, right next to the design. Okay. All righty. So what I'm going to do now, just pop this in here and tell it embroidery. All right, I've got white thread in here. It's going to give me that basting stitch. My thread choices are, I use Embrilliance Exquisite, not Embrilliance. Didn't catch. All right. Sometimes the basting stitch won't catch because it's a giant stitch. Let me go into needle plus minus and hit my 0. Go back to the beginning. I'm going to go +1, and I'm going to use my knot. All right, now let's do it. And you just stitch right on the stabilizer. And that worked. There we go. Julianne, if there's a way to change the distance on the basting stitch, it's probably in the settings, and you can't do it on the fly in the design. Okay, so now you can see, maybe, it's white thread. I don't know if you can see it. There's the basting stitch, okay? So now all I have to do is place my fabric over it and make sure my fabric's nice and straight. And then I want to stitch that basting stitch one more time. You can tape your fabric on there with some paper tape if you want. I don't want. So I am going to go back here into the needle plus minus, and I'm going to go to 0 again, back to the starting point, and a +1. I'm going to knot it again. All right. And now I'm going to tell it to go. And now what that does is it's going to make sure. Hello, Frito. It's going to make sure that the fabric doesn't shift around while I'm doing my design. And then when I'm finished, I can just easily pull it out of the fabric and you won't even see it. It's a big wide stitch. All right. Okay, to change my thread color, let me get my little scissors here. I like to cut at the top, and I'm going to put the other color on. This is Dimes Exquisite. I use Glide, Exquisite, and Isocord, those three. My machine likes those. Your machine might like another brand, maybe Sulky or Floriani or whatever. So use the thread that your machine likes. So I just tie them off up at the top, and then I unthread the needle and pull the thread toward me through the machine. I'll thread it. Okay. Do you have a knot function, Paul, on yours? It's a little dot. Dave says it's a Frito Eggs 3-treat Thursday. Oh. So this is the applique here. So what applique is it gives you a placement line. Okay. It gives you a little placement line where giving you a hint where to put your fabric. And you just lay your fabric over the top of it, whichever way and make sure it completely covers it. I did not pre-cut my pieces. Now, ideally, you're supposed to have some tape over here. My dispenser's over at the 10 needle. And you can take your little tape and just tape it down on the sides. And that'll make sure that it stays where it's supposed to. This is what the instructions tell you in the Kimberbell design. And then you just hit the button and go again, and it'll stitch it down. Usually it'll go around twice to make sure everything stays put. And then what you need to do is to cut it out. So I use a quilter's cut and press. Okay. So it has a firm flat surface on one side and it has an ironing surface on the other. Now, whenever you remove the hoop from the machine, you always trim and get in here and do whatever you're going to do on a firm flat surface. Don't ever put it on your lap or lean it up against the edge of the desk. Don't do that, because if you pop it out of the hoop, which happens if you do that, then it's game over. You're all done. And then you're going to be like, oh, I don't have any more fabric, and now I'm sick of this and I'm not doing it anymore. So you pick it up, the edge of the fabric, and just start trimming. I'm using a pair of curved Ginger scissors. Don't go cheap when you buy these. These have a curved bottom, and they've got an angle here that allows you to get down in the hoop like that. You're going to have these scissors forever, and the cheap ones hurt your fingers. So spend the money and get yourself a good pair of scissors to be able to trim. If you are right-handed, you want to trim clockwise so that the lower blade on the scissor is closest to the fabric seam line. If you are left-handed, trim counterclockwise, and you will get a very close trim. You want to make sure that you can't see what I'm doing. Oh, I'm sorry. Darn it. You want to make sure that you get close enough to the stitches without, if you cut the stitches a little bit, that's perfectly fine. Because the standard satin cover stitch for this is 3 millimeters. And sorry about that. Wrong camera, guys. Okay. So the standard cover stitch that's going to go all around this is 3 millimeters in width. And so just make sure you get your fabric trimmed close enough that it'll be covered by a 3 millimeter stitch. You don't want to have any fuzzies hanging out from underneath that stitch, because if you try to trim them off, you can accidentally trim that satin, and you don't want to do that. Okay. All righty. Okay, and we'll do this. And this is telling me my next stitch goes, let's see, it looks like it is the placement line for the mailbox. I'm going to leave the same thread in because the placement line will eventually be covered. So what it's going to do now, it's just giving me the idea of where exactly to put all my fabric. Radio version of the Stitchuation room, Pamela, then it didn't matter that you couldn't see. So here's my placement line for the outside of the mailbox. Okay. I need to not look at the camera and look at the screen so I can see what you guys are seeing. I like to work with this in my lap. They make a 12-inch one too. I'll get that in a second. But it's easier to work with these. Let me just put here and here. Okay. I am going to change out my thread color now to the red. And let's see. Oh, it's going to be bright, beautiful day here in South Texas. I love late November in Texas. It is just so nice. I just had my birthday last week, and it's great because, you know, I could get roller skates or a bike or whatever and go outside and play for my birthday. It was great. New hula hoop, whatever. Okay, so now it's going to tack down. It's snowing in upstate New York. No, thank you. Why didn't I do this on my 10 needle? Just curious, Charlene. It's loud. It's really loud. It's hard for the camera. Oh, you're in the Coastal Bend area? Nice, beauty. All right. There we go. I've got links in, I've got all of these tools in my Amazon store that I use. I have a section for my embroidery favorites. And usually everything is still there. Sometimes it sells out, but if you start in my Amazon store and keep going, then even if it jumps you over to the main store, I still get credit for that. So these curved scissors allow you to trim and not cut your stitches, which is very nice. These are good habits to have, like trimming on a firm, flat surface, whether it's the desk or you're working in your lap, either one. I didn't get that close up here. You can also use these other, I've got some little spring snips. Okay, that's fine. I don't recommend a lint roller or any kind of scrubby or anything. You will actually end up fraying the fibers around the stitching. So I don't recommend doing that. All right, what is next? Next is the placement line for the back of the mailbox for my little white fabric. So I'm going to switch to a different thread. And I don't want to use, I think I want to use this one. It's cream colored. I don't know that it really matters because it's just a placement line, but I wanted you guys to be able to see it. And I need to read the directions on how to put that together. So, you guys having a good time in there this morning? What's in the kitchen? What's for breakfast? We have a virtual kitchen. You guys need to wander over there, get yourself some hot coffee and see what's going on for breakfast, and then hit the thumbs up button on your way in if you wouldn't mind. Okay, I want to show you guys something. Let me zoom, see if I can zoom in with this one. No, I can't get any closer with that one. So I can get real close here with this camera. Sometimes, let me go way in. Your thread will give you a little loop like that. And if you want to, you can get your finger in there before it starts stitching, before you push the button. You can get your finger in there and unloop it. You don't have to. Okay, you don't have to. Ruth, you're absolutely right. The sticky stabilizer, your repairman says it keeps him in business. That's exactly right. I'm not going to get my finger in there. I'm going to let it do its thing. 9 times out of 10, it'll get pulled down in, and then you can undo it afterwards if it leaves a loop on top. Cheap thread and sticky stabilizer. That's what repairmen love. You can use Keith's stiletto, yeah. I don't have any classes yet, Maureen. I was going to make some classes. Okay, so let me get you in here. See, you can see that tiny little loop. It now, if I wanted to, and if you undo that loop, you might have a tail sticking up anyway. That's close enough. That's good. Let me get that other little. That is not that big of a deal. All right, so then we have the tack down. I need to make sure that that piece of fabric is not folded in half. I think that it is just, let me back out, laid on top of there. Okay. Just double checking. Let's see. Here I'm on. Here's my dear Santa. Nope, I don't need to do that. You can tell. It gives you picture step by step. Kimberbell is great for that. If you're a beginner, I really recommend starting out with a Kimberbell design of some sort because their instructions are the best in the industry. It says one piece. I'm going to put 2 just so it stays taut. And it's going to tack that down. Yeah, I'm doing this the old embroidery way. Yeah, I did not pre-cut my pieces. You don't have to have a scan and cut. It's helpful, but not necessary. Now, if we'd had a whole bunch of little, intricate cuts, I would have pre-cut them. I let the machine do all the hard work for that, so I don't have to. These aren't good for this. I want it a little bit closer. Okay. Plus, I'm just cutting out large straight lines for the most part. Not that big of a deal. I used a bad scissor on that first cut. And no, I'm not happy. I mean, that 3 millimeter will cover that. I just don't want any fuzzies. Okay. All right, what is next? Next is the placement line for the bottom part of the mailbox. And I do need to fold that, and don't cut the fold. Okay, so what it wants me to do, let me go ahead and get my tape off. And I'm going to go ahead and stitch. I'm going to switch back to green so you guys can see the thread. Okay. So we've got this green fabric here, so I'm going to switch back to green. You don't have to. The book has it where it's using it has a little, like a grayed out thread color box telling you which thread to use. I'm just switching threads so you guys can see the thread. Oh, okay. And it's going to want me to fold this fabric in half. Okay. All right. So it gave me a stitch in the shape of a U, and on the top of each side, it's got a little flat stitch. That's where it wants me to align this outer mailbox fabric. So this is the fold. Okay, I folded that fabric in half, wrong sides together. And I'm going to set that right on those little tick marks. That's your placement line. You don't want to go over them, but you don't want to miss them either, because that's where the stitch is going to stop when it tacks it down. Okay, and now I've got my tape on there holding it in place. Isn't that cute? It's already starting to look cute, isn't it? Okay. And it's going to tack it down. Perfect. All right. right, we are ready to begin the satin stitching. And so that's all just finishing stitching now. But first I need to trim away this outside of this little mailbox. Don't trim the fold. You're just going to go around the U shape of the placement line and tack down. I think when I bought these scissors, they were like $60. I think they've come down in price over time, but I've had them a good 10, 12 years. Okay. So again, don't go cheap on them. I think they're like $40 now. I don't know. Let's see. I can't imagine how they would come down, but I think they did. All right. The next stitch is the satin stitch around the base of the mailbox, and I have thread everywhere. I don't want those little fuzzies. Where's the canned air when I need it, right? And so I need to have the green thread in there. I can see on the preview on the machine that I need the green thread. Now, what these machines do when they're doing their satin stitch is they need to create an underlay to give those satin stitches something to sit on top of. So you will see them go around and do a straight, and then they might do a very large zigzag all the way around, and then they'll come back and do a heavy satin stitch right next to itself. So have I ever had them sharpened? Can they be sharpened? Bonnie, I'm sure they can, but no, I've never had those sharpened. Never have. Use your tape to pick up the pieces of thread. Jean, I just afraid I'm going to pull more shreds up off the fabric. The little bitty ones around the outside, I guess I could, yeah. I want to show you guys what it's doing. I'm going to do a cut. This is just so you understand the structure of the stitch. That's important because you need to know how things are going to look. So let me get right up in here and let you guys see. I'm what, Lynn? You hit enter. So you can see where some of the satin stitching has already occurred up on the top of the base. And look how it's done the outline around. You can see it underneath the base, and you can see another stitch. So it did a stitch right up here in the fabric, and it did a stitch right down here. That's your 3 millimeter boundary. So that is where your satin stitches are going to sit. So now that it's done that, now it's going to do a zigzag in between those to give it a base, and then it's going to go ahead and start that satin stitch. That's how stitches support themselves, and that gives you the idea of the 3 millimeter width of a satin stitch. So you can kind of get an idea of how to trim your fabrics. Okay. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. If your thread breaks, just because that happens, I don't know if it'll happen here, but if it breaks, you want to use your needle plus minus and go backwards about 20 stitches and start again. It is well-designed applique. Yes, Patty. Kimberbell is famous for that. They have the best designers in the industry, I think. I was privileged to take a tour of the Kimberbell studios and warehouse several years ago, back in 21 during the pandemic. It was awesome. So you hit the key too soon. I was so correct about the Dime Polypro stabilizer. You did a tiny design font. It came out perfect on a t-shirt. Excellent, Lynn. Yeah, that's a good one. Let me see if I can find what I'm looking for here. Yeah, I try not to steer you guys wrong if I can avoid it. Hold on a second. I had a tube of it. I had a tube of that Poly Pro. I can't locate it right now. Okay, what's next? The red. I need the red to go around the outside of the mailbox. Let's switch it up. This is so fun. I love doing embroidery. So fun. Let me get this tied off. A lot of instantaneous gratification when you do machine embroidery. I used to get really frustrated with it when I had my smaller machine, and there were a lot of things that caused the frustration. Wrong threads, wrong stabilizers. It's important to know, like I didn't know to use SF101 on the back of my quilting cottons. And so I had a lot of puckers on my projects and I never knew why. I didn't understand that. And if you're brand new to embroidery, I've got a link to this below. But this is the Dime Embroiderer's Compass. This is what someone was talking about earlier. Has anyone had their embroidery arm serviced? I have. Yeah, Dee Dee. I have. I had the belt break in here. I had to have it serviced. So this is so important to get if you're brand new to embroidery. You can look around on the internet and hope you find the right information, okay? But this, what it does is around the outside of it, it has got fabric types, okay? So like here I'm looking at moisture wicking technical fabric, right? So those shirts for fishermen, okay? Metallic thread embroidery, socks, denim, caps, sweatshirts, faux fur. So on a sweatshirt, now what you do is you take the little arrow and I'm going to turn it to sweatshirts. And it tells me stabilizer, no show mesh or medium cutaway, water soluble topping optional. And then down here, it tells me the type of needle that I need and what size. And down here, it tells me any other comments I need to know on how to hoop it or float it or whatever it is you need to do. This thing is so chock full of information, both sides. Deborah Jones just passed. She was an icon in the industry. We lost her last August. And sweet, sweet lady, met her at the show. And I just, I have several of these. I have one here at home and I have one in our house at the coast. You never know. Yes, something else you have to buy, Connie. I know. You'll reach for this over and over when you know, a lot of times when you're doing these Kimberbell things, it tells you everything to do and that's fine. But then something will come up where, hey, can you embroider on my jacket for me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Another thing you can do is go searching in your closet for like, can you embroider this polo shirt or a golf shirt? We'll go digging around in the closet and see if you have a like fabric in a closet and look at the back of it, if it's got embroidery on it, and look at the back of it. See what they do in industry. That'll give you a really good idea of what you can do. Yeah, it's $20. Well worth. I think it's $20. Well worth the cost. Peace of mind, you guys. Education is, knowledge is power, right? I need the green again. Okay. It's going to do green around the top of the mailbox. So, and there are other stabilizers too. They call them a stabilizer, but it's called a topper. And those are needed when you are going to be doing anything that has a nap or plush, like towels or blankets, socks, sweatshirts, something, even though a sweatshirt is, it may not be fuzzy on the outside. Sweatshirts are thick, okay? And if a fabric is thick, as the needle goes and does its stitching, those stitches are going to compress that fabric. And the topper prevents those stitches from being compressed down into the fabric. And then it just pulls off. A lot of them are water soluble. What am I doing when I change threads and knot? Yes, Karen, I do a single tie off little knot. Next one I'll show y'all. I do a little tie off. I'll zoom up close and let you see what I'm doing. But I just get the threads together and do a single loop knot, pull it through, and then pull it from the bottom. When you have to change your threads, you never ever bring your thread back through the machine the wrong direction. I used to do that, not understanding. The way the threads are made, if you do that, they can shred as they come up. They lose little fibers. It might look intact when you pull it out of the machine, but little fibers were left along the thread path going the other direction. Over time, you can get a buildup and you'll have problems. This is adorable. What are cam snaps? Karen, they're little plastic snaps. Cam is the name of the company that makes them, cam snaps. Yeah, there's a company that, and they've got the presses and all that stuff. Those are always fun. So Jill says when she does that, I'm talking about, I think you're talking about me pulling the thread through, the knot through. It's fine. It's no problem. You can't get the hang of the tie off. You unthread the machine. No, there's no need to unthread the machine. Well, it's just like your serger. And that's the way they do it in industry. They always tie off at the top. It's too inefficient to completely rethread a machine, especially those big multi-needles. Okay, our hour is up. If you have to go, because you have to go do that 4-letter word, or maybe run grandkids to school or something, thank you for spending your hour with me. I appreciate it so much. I am going to continue until this is finished. So what's next? I need that light pink around the outside. Okay, let's see how I tie this off. Let's get up to the top of the machine and get up real close so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay. I cut off up, way up, up, up. I cut off up top up here to give myself enough of a tail so I have room. Okay. So I cut off up near that first thing. And then here's my tail right here. You can see that hanging right there. So I'm going to replace the thread. I'm glad we're doing this. We've got contrasting thread colors. Okay. So I have both threads. I have about 4 inches and they're hanging together. Can you see them? I'm just going to give them a little twist so they think that they're one. It looks like a pink and green peppermint stick to me. All right. I make a single big loop and hold the loop at the top with my thumb and forefinger. And I take the tails and drop the tails behind the loop. Let me get that. You see it? The tails are behind the loop and the loop is big enough now for me to reach through and pull. And then I just make this tiny little knot and that's perfectly fine. And then I drop the knot up above. This thread guide right here is for making bobbins, but I like to use it to thread the machine. And now I can back out so you guys can see. Okay. And then I unthread the needle and pull the thread through. And then very efficient and quick way. So you like my watch band? Seasonal, right? Little pumpkins. I know, they're cute. So let's go ahead and stitch that all around the outside of my little mail drop slot. Okay. I need to dig around and get the little button out of here. My embellishments. Taking you with me to pack up your lunch? Okay, Jay. All right. Let's go back to big, and I'm going to turn you guys a little bit and show you the embellishments we've got here. So this is a Quilty little Christmas. These are the buttons that come with it. Okay. You will, Vicki, once you get the hang, she says she's definitely going to be changing thread colors different. Once you get the hang of it, it is so quick and easy, and you'll just, you know, whip right through it. All right. I wonder if it matters which button goes. I think it's this one. I think this is the one that, is this the one I'm supposed to use? Yeah, the one that, no. This one. The button that goes with this has a little Christmas tree up in the corner. That's cute. They want you to stitch it in so it doesn't sink down inside. And then let me put it over here on my project board so I don't lose it, because I will. And then here is the little stamp for this other one here. This is a letter to Santa. So I'm going to put some 505 on the back of this stamp before I use any of them. What do we got before I use any thread on it? Oh, the letters. All right. Let me put this stamp on here, let it dry, and then I'll hand stitch it, which I don't want to do. And if this sticks good enough, I won't hand stitch it. I'll just leave it. That's cute. We'll let that dry like that. Okay. Next, I need, oh, all right. So let me show you guys what I was talking about. Not happy. Not happy. I didn't trim my little fabric close enough. I got a little fuzzy. You can see green. Can you see the green coming out from underneath the pink? That's what happens when you don't trim close enough. I can see green fabric, and I was trimmed close to it. So I'll have to be very, very careful and get some tiny little tweezers, pull those forward, and then trim them real close to clean that up. Okay. Fixable. Everything in embroidery is fixable. Another thing I could do is if I wanted to take this pink stitching off, okay, sometimes that happens. Sometimes it's absolutely irredeemable. Tweezers and a Sharpie. I know, Beth. Absolutely. I've been there. If you ever have to take stitching off of a project, you always do it from the back of a project. Always do it from the back. You never, ever want to do it from the front because you can mess up something that you had no intention of messing up. So, yeah, I like to hand stitch buttons too, Anne. Absolutely. I don't I don't care for that. So I'm going to be able to fix this with tweezers and some little tiny snips and get those out, no problem. But if you ever have to unpick something, you want to wad up. If you don't have one of those pads that fits inside the hoop, they make a pad that you can work on the back, okay? Because you don't want to work on the back and not have something up underneath it. You can wad up some batting and put the batting in here and give it a base to sit on to give it something firm. And then you would take a blade like one of these, okay? This is a little scalpel blade, all right? I get these. There's a place up in Bernie. Is it Bernie or Bulverde? I can't remember the name of it. Y'all help me out. It's he's got all kinds of snips and scissors and stuff like that. He's up in Bulverde. Anyway, you can get them. You can get these anywhere. And then you just take this blade and go through the center so you can see how it has a thin line of pink on outside and inside of that line, or the red or the green. The white is the bobbin thread. And all you need to do is just trim, just go straight through the line of the bobbin thread. And that will release all those stitches. And then you can scrape it with your fingernail from the front and they will come out. Okay. Laura Koya has her picture on his website. Trying to remember the name of it. Y'all, it's early. I'm really bad with that. Yesterday, I was trying to think of the WeatherTech floor mats. I couldn't. And I saw a commercial for it last night. I said, that's what I was trying to think of. Curved scalpel blades work too. Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Just get yourself a sharp, something. What do we got next? The white. I need white. I'm not going to use the cream. I need the right tool for the job here. This is for the letters on the front of the mailbox. Okay. Make that loop, drop the tails behind, pull it through. Whoop. I do like to glue my buttons on first, and then I'll put them under the machine, but that way the button's being held in place. It's just easier. Okay. I'm going to pull that little loop out because we're doing lettering. What's the matter? Oh, my dot's red, and I'm like, why? It's because my little button is down right here. Okay. I got a tail. So we're doing lettering. Let me hold on. Let me get it. Let it get started. Okay. I let it get started. I don't think you guys can see with that other camera close enough. So because I'm doing lettering and not a heavy satin stitch, I want to get in here. Hold on a second. Where you can see. Okay. I have got a tail that's sticking up, and when you're doing lettering, you definitely want to get rid of those little tails because, let me put my foot up. It can get stitched down into something that you don't want. So I'm going to grab a hold of it and get these little scissors, tweezer snips. You can't see. There we go. And trim that real close. Okay. Now I know I'm going to get a nice clean stitch. Okay. So this machine, you just saw what it did. So it did some stitching and then it went over to do the next side. When it goes from a stop knot and it jumps to the next design and it begins another knot, that is called a jump stitch. And most machines, no, some machines have the ability to trim, create a scissor cut underneath in between the jump stitches. And so it'll cut those for you. If you have a machine that does not automatically cut jump stitches, because some of them don't, once it gets finished doing a jump stitch and it jumps to another part of the design, stop the machine, get in there and trim off those jump stitches, because sometimes it'll be going around and it'll go up and stitch over a jump stitch. Now it's in the design and you've got to fiddle with that. So it's always good to get rid of your jump stitches as early as possible if your machine does not cut them for you. So if you are stitching or you're in the market for an embroidery machine, make sure these are things you would want to look for. Does it cut jump stitches automatically? Also, when you're looking for an embroidery machine, you don't want to get what's called hoop envy. Okay, hoop envy is, oh, that design's too big for my machine to stitch, and so I wish I had a bigger machine, and now I have already spent all this money, and now I'm stuck. All right, so I would say from the heart, don't ever buy a 4x4 machine. So what's a 4x4? It can only stitch designs up to a 4x4 size. So if you see an embroidery machine at Walmart, and Walmart's great, they sell brother embroidery machines at Walmart, but most of them are only a 4x4. To me, that is a waste of money. To you, that might be good for exactly what you need if you're just going to be embroidering a little thing on a onesie. If you want to do something like this, you have to have a 5x7. So those numbers correspond to the size of the hoop that the machine can take, okay? So if the machine, like this machine, can take up to a 10x16 hoop, ginormous. The Janome M17 has an even larger hoop. The Avenir is going to have a bigger hoop than that. But what that means is this arm right here can take that hoop and it can move it and it won't smack into the side of the machine. That's one of the reasons that Janome has their hoop connection on the inside, because this is always a set value and that hoop can move wherever to the outside. That's one of the benefits of doing it that way. If you're in the market for a machine, a 6x10 is a fantastic size. You can do so many designs because the embroidery digitizers will generally make multiple sizes of designs. So if you go out to Designs by Juju's website, and she's got 75% off her entire website, I got a link to it below. You can buy an in the hoop project like a wall hanging or mug rugs, or you can make Christmas trees for, you can do whatever. And if you look, she will always include the sizes of embroidery machine that you can use. 9 times out of 10, there'll be a 6x10 there. Sometimes the 5x7 is not there. So always take a look at the website and see what size of machine you have to have in order to do that. A 5x7 is great for Kimberbell designs. They rarely design anything that needs larger than a 5x7. And if they do, they will do what's called a multi-hooping. They'll show you how to do a multi-hoop to make it bigger, taller usually. Okay. So I just got my granddaughter a 6x10 machine last summer. She's been stitching all kinds of towels and mug rugs and all kinds of stuff on that. So that's a really good size for a starter or a travel machine. They only weigh, I think that one weighs 18 pounds. So I've got some little jump stitches that happened here in the letters. Sometimes those are hard to cut, and I'll cut those out in a little bit. All done. Yay. Okay. So here are the jump stitches. I'll get up close. See those? you want to clean those up. They did get cut between the letters of Dear Santa, but between the letters word, it did not. They didn't. So this is going to get cuter. Thank you, Quilt Wench. It's going to get cuter. So let me get in here and show you how to cut jump threads. There's a science. Okay. As the embroidery machine, most embroidery machines stitch from left to right. The designs will be digitized to stitch left to right. So when you're doing this, like from the L to the E, okay, there is a tie off right here and a tie in on the E, okay? Tie off right here at the L and a tie in on the E for that jump stitch. So there's a natural tension that's occurring between the tie off and tie in. If you snip the end of the tie in, it's going to naturally stand up. So these are why you want these little tiny snips. Get that under there. And if I snip it, I'm giving it a little tension against the E and it'll stand up. I wish I could get you guys in super close so you can see it. You can stitch a fantastic design, and if you don't clean up your jump stitches, it's going to look trashy. Let me get you in real close. Hold on. Where am I going? Right here. See that standing up? How nice is that? Very, very handy. So I'm just going to grab a hold of it. It gives me something to grab a hold of. I can't see. I don't have my glasses on. Hold on. With my left hand. And then I can trim it and give it a little tension. It'll trim right close. See how nice and clean that turned out? So again, so between these T's, I'm going to get my little tip under there and give it some tension against the tie-in to the letter it went to, not the one it came from. And this is how you get nice, clean. And so you're working with the tension of the machine, of the design. Look how nice that turned out. Ta-da! Yeah, can't have trashy. That's right, Ruth. Can't have trashy. So that's a little tip there to help you when you are trimming up your designs and getting those little stitches out of there. You can have a beautiful design, and if you don't trim your jump stitches, now you know what's going to happen. Y'all are going to be looking at embroidery designs and you're going to see jump stitches that weren't cut and you're going to go, well, somebody didn't take their time with that. Can you cut the jump stitches in Brother machines? So Pamela, this machine automatically cuts jump stitches. The machine determines whether it's going to cut them or not. The letters have a tie in and tie out from the digitizer. So where it had large jump stitches, like there are no jump stitches in the letters Dear Santa, it cut those. Why? I don't know. Okay. You didn't know there were a tie off and tie in. Yeah. So each letter, and you can see that if you ever pull the design like into Brilliance embroidery, so any kind of embroidery software, you can see the tie in and tie off. And if they're teeny, teeny, tiny, a lot of times machines will not automatically cut them. Okay. But I had big jump stitches between these letters and between these filigrees up here at the top. Those two filigrees are two separate stitches and it cut it automatically. So it just does what it does. So, all right. Now I want to get that. I'm going to get the basting stitch out. But let's undo this. The book calls for no-show mesh, okay? But that is if you are doing the background quilting on these, and no-show mesh will work fine because you're going to have batting underneath your fabric here. I really didn't want any puckering at all, so I used the tear away. And so I can tear away around I'll tear away all of it. When we get done here, I'll clean it up. Right now it's tearing away around the outside of the basting stitch. But I'm going to remove the basting stitch and then I'll tear all that other off. So look at that, you guys. No puckers. Isn't that nice? It turned out so good. And then I need my little letter. I got fuzzies. I'll fix them. Almost every embroidery design is going to require just a little bit of hand touch up from you when you get done. So the embellishment for this is this cute little letter to Santa. And let me get all this out of my way. Oh, okay. And we created a little pocket. So that little letter just sticks right in there. Just like that. Isn't that cute? Oh, that's adorable. I love it. That's exactly how it looked at. Oops. And that's how they said it would look, right? And that's how it turned out. Adorable. Awesome. Cool. So I have some work to do. I'm going to trim up my little stitches. I have some thread fuzzies that stuck out from underneath my satin stitching on the pink right here. And I'm going to take the basting stitch out and then pull off the rest of that tearaway stabilizer. But I'm very, very happy with this. Also, you have enough fabric that if you hooped it crooked, like it looks like I kind of did, I'm going to be able to straighten this out when I trim it. So that's another benefit of machine embroidery. It's recoverable. You've got enough play. Okay. It looks like it's not straight. And it is not straight. It will be when I finish with it because I'm going to trim it straight. So easy to recover those things. All right, you guys. Yeah, frayed block after snipping. That's a good thing you could do too, Barbara. Absolutely. Yeah. So this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining me. I've loved having you here. Please give the video a thumbs up. Consider subscribing so we can spend more time together. I would like that very much. And you guys have a great day. And I will see you tomorrow. Pop in. We're going to do a little giveaway. All right. It's Giveaway Friday. All right. You guys have a wonderful day. Love y'all. Talk to you soon. Go sew something. Bye.